Welcome to Nasdaq Trade Talks. I'm your host, Jill Malandrino, global markets reporter at Nasdaq. Joining me at the market site in Times Square, we have Felix Shipkevich. He is the founder of Hotspot Law. We're going to take a look at the regulatory landscape within FinTech. It's great to have you with us as always. And at Nasdaq, we are always talking about financial technology. What about the regulatory landscape? Where are we right now with that?
First of all, Jill, thanks for having me here. The financial technology is ever evolving. I mean, it's actually quite difficult to keep up. I've been practicing for over 16 years, and just to tell you, in the past decade alone, to keep up with anywhere from FinTech technology that's in the palm of your hand, particularly after the rise of the Apple and Android devices, to trading technology. I mean, today, with the urbanization of our society and people want things in the palm of their hand, you have to think about so many legal and regulatory issues. You have to think about not just your privacy laws. Well, if you create an app, right? If you're a financial technology company and you decide to get easier and faster access to your computers, to your consumers, you have to think about, well, is somebody regulating my app? Is somebody regulating the access of my financial technology to these consumers? You have to think about the Securities Exchange Commission applications, the OCC, the CFTC. Then you have the state regulators. And finally, you have to think about on a global scale. Nothing today is merely US anymore. We live in a very, very global environment. So the biggest challenge is for somebody to keep up with the amount of information, understanding that information, and then understanding the regulatory implications, not just on local or federal level, but actually on the global level.
Where's progress being made, though?
I think the biggest progress today is primarily in the mobile app space. Mm-hmm. Once again, today you could order a car, you could order your meal, you could actually speak to a doctor. I mean, I belong to, I personally use NYU, for instance, Langone. I could speak to my doctor over my phone. That is absolutely fascinating, and I think with the rise of these application, this technology in the FinTech space.
Doctor, you expect everything on demand. Should some patience and some due diligence be exerted there, or companies just have to evolve with changing consumer demand?
Demand is important, right?
Yeah.
Demand is what gets companies money quicker and faster, right? That's part of the reasons why today you could, as I said, you could order a meal, you could order a cab, you could order, but companies have to be aware that such demand comes at some legal and regulatory cost, right? You have to be mindful of the issues that these consumers are facing. Ultimately, are they properly being priced for these applications? And, let's take a look, for instance, what's going on this week with the Facebook Libra announcement, right? There's been a buzz about it for the past few months, and now the big announcement. Now, the objective is, from everything that I've read about Libra, is that we want to provide easier and faster and cheaper payment methods to individuals. Well, we need to be mindful of what are the potential repercussions of this coin? How do you regulate this coin? How does the consumer know that, in fact, if they eventually roll it out in 2020, will be able to get the type of proper service that they're expected? I mean, Facebook is a social media company. If you had Bank of America or TD Bank offering this, obviously we'd probably get a different reaction. So we need to look at the regulatory environment of all these.
All right, and to wrap up here, why are regulators struggling to keep up with technology? Is it just moving that fast and the law books don't?
It's tough to keep up with everything new. I mean, regulators are there to enforce our current laws, our current regulations. They now have to, on a daily basis, study the new technology that's evolving. And that's time-consuming, it's expensive, and the technology these days is almost like one step ahead of the regulators. So it's not an easy task for them, but I think they're doing overall a pretty good job, and I think what we see is a pretty good consensus among not just the US regulatory agencies, but actually regulatory agencies throughout the world.
All right, Felix, thanks so much for the insight.
Pleasure to have you.
And thank you for joining me on Trade Talks. I'm Jill Malandrino, global markets reporter at Nasdaq.